Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Chris with Chris Flores Media. Today I'm going to show you my new favorite plugin for Final Cut Pro. I'm going to make it quick and short. Let's get right into it, right? Hop over to the computer. Alright, so I'm over here on the computer. I've started a new project. I've got my video on the timeline right here, just me waving at myself. And I'm going to show you guys this new plugin that I recently found. It's called CineMagic. If I can get y'all a discount code, I will leave it in the description. It's very cheap compared to other cinema grading plugins you could get out there for Final Cut Pro. This one is by far the cheapest one, and I think you're gonna agree with me that it works just great. All right, so this is what it looks like once you apply it on your clip. You're gonna look at it, you're gonna see it kind of looks very familiar. If you're used to using Lightroom or Photoshop, it's gonna be very similar to it. So we can add LUTs, we've got all of our basic corrections up here, and then down here we could get into grading and even some film looking stuff and sharpening, all right? All within the same plugin without having to use adjustment layers or having to like just stack effects on top of each other, right? So let's say I wanted to go ahead and just do a basic grade on this. I'm gonna drop my favorite LUT on here. So I did record this in S-Log 2, and let's say I do want to do a basic grade right here. Usually that's the one I like to use right there. Drop it down to like about 45%. All right, so we've got a good looking image there so far, but let's talk about all the things that we can do. I'm gonna go ahead and just take this off and show you guys what we can do without having to add on top of anything, okay? So right here we got a base grade. So I like to think of this kind of like an auto. Like if I just wanted to press auto in Lightroom, this is kind of just everything moves all at once. I don't really use this one, but it's there in case you just want to do a quick, maybe for Instagram, TikTok, something really quick, YouTube stories. It's there for you. Sometimes when you play with your LUTs, the exposure might go in and out. So you got your exposure. You've got gamma. All right, so you can play with that there. Contrast, make it really contrasty, like some people love it. I personally don't like too much contrast, so I don't really play with that. You got your blacks. You can make them very black, and you can see that very apparent right here in the curtain that I have in the back. That is black. You got your fills, so that's kind of messing with your midtones. You got your whites. You've got recovery, which this is one of my favorite tools, because if you're shooting outside and say you kind of overexpose the sky a little bit, you can recover some of it back using this recovery tool. So it's very cool. You got a skin tones tool. You can see how the color of my skin is just popping out right there. You've got a dehaze. Just kind of plays around with the contrast as well. You got your fade, so it kind of pushes up the blacks. You know, get that cinematic look. I've seen dudes that shoot like this. Probably too much for my style. You got your saturation. I look like an Oompa Loompa. There I look like I'm gone but not forgotten. All right, you can play with your Vibrance. I do like using the Vibrance tool. You got white balance if you need to play with it. In this shot, I don't need to use it. You got your tint as well, which in this shot, I don't need to use it. And then here is the cool part right here. You got your hues, you got your saturation, and you've got your luma, just like you would over here if you were to use like the coloring tool. But over here, it's just, I don't know, I guess it's just in one plugin, so it makes it a lot easier. So let's say I wanted to push the reds in this shot, bring them down, or I want to change the color of the reds. Since I'm in the hue panel, I can do that. Let's say I wanted to change the saturation of the reds. Make them very saturated, or kind of desaturate the reds there. They're all there. And let's say I wanted to change the brightness or the darkness of the reds. I want to make it really bright or darken up the reds. You got it there. And of course you could just play with all the colors, the hue, the saturation, and the luma of all. And then right here, you got some built-in kind of color grading tools here. If you want to make it look cinematic, you can kind of push it there. If you wanted the teal and orange kind of look for travel films, you got it there. You can see my face went orange, my hat brim went teal, my guitar went real teal. If you want a vintage look, you can do that there. Kind of plays around with the saturation of the colors. If you want film, you can do film. And one of my favorite things here, I bought a whole separate plugin for a lot more money to help me get some grain, and I've got it built in here. So if you're a filmmaker on a budget, you can add nice grain all within the same plugin, right? So obviously right there, probably too much. And you could kind of see there that you got like you could see blues, greens, reds in there. So maybe a little too much, but if you wanted to just add a subtle hint, you can do that. Let's zoom in a little bit just to kind of see what it looks like. And right there, I would say that looks pretty good. You could bring it down a little bit more if you really wanted to push it. You can push it, get that like 8mm look. But like I said, I wouldn't push it all the way just because you get a lot of this green and blues in your shot, right? So very cool tool. And then of course, this is my favorite. I don't really like the sharpening tool in Final Cut. I do like using this a lot better just because it gives you a little bit more control. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on my beard. This is where you're gonna really see it. So you got my beard there. I'm gonna sharpen my beard. Yeah, that looks a lot better. If I wanted to push it all the way to 100, a lot cleaner. Usually I like to run it like around 30%. And there we go. And this is like a Lut Stacker tool, so it does work. You can add multiple LUTs on top of each other instead of, like I said at the beginning, just stacking layers and layers of LUTs on top of each other. Also, a plugin that you can buy as well, something I recommend, it's an actual Lut Stacker, which you can just stack LUTs on top of LUTs on top of LUTs with this tool. So you don't have to keep using adjustment layers and things like that, just keeping your timeline a lot cleaner, right? So again, this was my shot. Obviously I shot an S-Log, so it looks really flat, but this was my shot before, this is my shot after. And if I want to dial in a little bit more with one of my favorite LUTs, I can bring it back using the control. So I like to treat the primary more like a corrective LUT and then the secondary as like a look. That's how I like to use this tool, and pretty much every time I'm grading. So there we go. You got the final product all in one tool without having to just stack, and then you keep your workflow so much more organized, all right? Again, like I said, if I can get y'all a discount code with this plugin, I will definitely leave it in the comment section. Thank you CineMagic for sending me this out. They sent me to try it out for myself, and like everything else on the channel, if I don't personally buy it, if I don't personally recommend it, I'm not gonna make a video for it. So they did send it out to me, but they're watching this video when you are, and this is something that I highly recommend for Final Cut. If you use Final Cut, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, you gotta just add tools on top of tools on top of tools to get everything that you want to get done. With CineMagic workflow, it's all in one place. So much easier to stay organized and just know what's going on, okay? So, highly recommend it. Look at the link in the description. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next video, all right? Peace.